Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. When I started using Anchor to do my podcast, it was so extremely easy that I haven't even bothered to look for another app to use. I love this app. It's the only one I deal with, the only one I even recommend, period. I recommend you get on there ASAP. If you want to start a podcast, this is definitely the place to go. It's easy. You can drive around and record. You can sit in your basement and record. You can do it anywhere. It's fantastic. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start, anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Adam Rich from the Really Rich Podcast, and I'm sorry I've been slowing down on the outtake there of the the podcast here, how many I've been putting out a week and everything, but I've been trying to work on videos and YouTube and everything. I'm just trying to get a lot going on right now with the family and all this stuff. So anyway, I really wanted to put one out today about, I guess, just like basically trying to better your life and get your future. Think about your future in longer than days, weeks, or months, or even a year. I'm talking, how much do you think about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now? Like, how much do you really think about what you can do in the future with your career, with your passion, with whatever it is that you're trying to do? Because a lot of us, are stuck in jobs for many different reasons. We start a job, maybe the job is phenomenal when you start there. Maybe you went to school for something and then you got a job in that field, and now you've grown out of love with that job, with that, with that career path and everything. And there's so many different variables that go in. Maybe your life is different. Maybe you got married, have kids, and now you're trying to do something else and you just don't want to be a part of that company. There's so many things. But what I do know is, if you are only thinking about the immediate future, if you're only thinking about today or next week or next month or how this next quarter is going to go at your job, or even in just life period, you're not thinking ahead, man. You need to put a lot more focus on, no matter what age you are too. And that's the most beautiful part about it. No matter what age you are, you should always be thinking, where am I going to, if I keep going at this, where am I going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years? I talked to my wife yesterday about, cause I've started the process of working on, I'm writing 3 different books, and I don't expect these books to be out next week or in a month or whatever, because I just started on them. But it was 3 big ideas for me. They're just 3 things that I'm very, very, very passionate about with trying to help people. And a lot of it, to be honest with you, if I can sum up all 3 books combined, it's basically my way of trying to help people with this mental health issue that we have going on. There's a lot of people depressed and miserable and angry and bitter and with zero confidence or self-esteem. And essentially, I'm in the process now of writing a few books that I think will help people in different areas of their life, but essentially help them become more confident, more happy, more appreciative in life. And the third one is more of just an understanding of society and basically with getting jobs, like as far as at the core of it, I guess it would be more of whether or not how important it is to go to school to get a degree, or not get a degree and risk regular jobs or starting your own business, being an entrepreneur. Because you don't need a degree to be an entrepreneur. You don't need a degree to go work at like McDonald's or Target or Walmart or most factories as an operator or a machine operator or something like that. There's a lot of, I hate to use the term low-level jobs, but because it makes people feel like their value isn't as high or that the job that they're doing is more meaningless or something. And that's not the case. I just mean it in the sense that it doesn't require a lot of accolades or accomplishments in order to get these jobs. And meaning like maybe you just need a GED or a high school diploma. Maybe you just need a couple of weeks of, going to not a seminar, but like a training course or something. I remember when I went to Home Depot, when I worked at Home Depot, the first 2 weeks before I even hired in, the first 2 weeks I had to spend going to a building where we basically just learned their computer systems, how to sell to people, if you don't have the information, where to find it, who to ask, things like that, and just how the company works. And you go to these training classes before you even get thrown out into the job. But they don't require a degree. They don't require a long-term education at a university or anything. So it's really, to me, when it comes to that book, it's not necessarily on, I guess, bettering yourself, but it's more teaching you the pros and cons of having a degree or not having a degree. Is it worth it? Is it even worth spending your time, effort, and money to go to school for a long period of time to get a degree? And I'm going to run through all those different things, but essentially, the reason why I wanted to start on these books is I know that writing a book is a very long process. There's a reason why I've never written one. There's a reason why I never wanted to do it. It's because I used to always think in short terms. I used to always think in, like, life is good today, so I just want to appreciate today. And I do that still, but I at least have expanded my ideas and thoughts about where do I want to, like, I'm going to be 36 in less than a month. Where do I want to be at 40 or 46 or 50 or 60 or whatever? I think about these kinds of things a lot more now because I see how many people do physical labor and physical jobs like construction or heavy lifting, climbing ladders, doing roofing, shit like that. I see these people doing these things, and I realize that when it comes to physical labor, hard work, hard labor, not the mental grind, but the physical grind of lifting and running and moving and all this shit, it takes a very physical toll on your body to the point where you can't do those kinds of things when you're 70 and 80 and 90. And I thought to myself, I'm like, if I live to be 70, 80, or 90, do I want to just live with no purpose and no job and no career and no nothing to do, just sitting around, hanging out, and just spending money? Or do I want to have some type of a career where I can always be doing something? Maybe in order to do that, it would have to be a job that's not super physical. It's more of a mental game at that point. Like for instance, writing books is one thing. Being a podcast host, being a news anchor, being a person on TV that just interviews or talks to people or announces something. Being an announcer, a sportscaster, announcer, right? Like all of these types of things, public speaking, motivational speaking, all of these things are jobs that are things that you can do to make money, but they're things that aren't super wear and tear on your body. And to be honest with you, I've never been the most, when it comes to physical labor, especially when it's for somebody else, I've never been the most hardworking individual, if I'm being honest. If it's for me, I don't, and it needs to get done, obviously I don't mind doing shit like that. But when it comes to busting your fucking ass to make somebody else rich, fuck that is the way I look at it now. I used to not mind that stuff. I used to say, well, this is life. You go work for somebody else, you make them a lot of money, but my job is to do this. I can make a good living. I can retire off this. And then when I hit 55 or 60, I can just not work anymore and just live off my retirement, right? And as I get older, I realize just how ridiculous that sounds to do that, because we have no idea what the future is going to look like. We have zero idea what it's going to be like, what jobs are going to be available, what kind of, how much the dollar is going to be worth. You know what I mean? Like, as far as, like, for instance, $1 in 1980 was would get you way farther than $1 would today. If you don't believe me, look up how far you could travel in a bus for $1 in 1980 and how far it'll get you in 2019. It's a world of difference. A candy bar used to cost like a nickel or a dime. Now, I don't even know I don't even think anything under a dime even has value anymore. Like, I don't think 10 pennies is worth 10 pennies, if you know what I mean. It's just, there's not a lot of value anymore for low amounts. So meaning, and this is why this is important. When I get to be 60, I don't know how much fucking money I'm going to have. I might have ungodly amounts of money. I may be flat fucking broke. But what I do know is, at the rate that I'm saving in my 401k, I don't know that by the time I hit that money, like working for somebody else, even if you save a shitload in your 401k, even if you save a ton in your 401k, in 30 years, say you end up and you have like $1 million, to make it an easy round number. Say you save for 30 years, you retire and you got $1 million in your bank account. And you would say, I'm going to retire, I never want to work again. How long do you think that million's going to last? Even in today's money, how long do you think that million would last? Now add 30 years of inflation. How long do you think that $1 million is going to last? You know what I'm saying? If you think in long terms, it allows you to live patiently. Because think about it. If you're thinking about the next 40 years, the next 8 months really doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, as far as how quickly you need shit to move. I think about how I can start something today and you slowly build. Imagine this. Imagine you're building a house and you put down one brick every day. Well, after a week, you're going to be like, this house is still not even fucking close to being a house. It's 7 bricks. You know, that 7 bricks ain't going to do you shit. However, you put down 1 brick a day for 20 years. How many bricks do you have? A lot of fucking bricks. Now, if you can think in long term like that and you just put down 1 brick a day, it's not a lot of effort. It's not a lot of action. But when you're patient like that and you realize, I got 20 years to build this fucking house, in 20 years you can have a badass house. And it didn't really take you a whole lot. The key, though, is that you have to start now. You can't fucking wait until, you can't say, well, when things are better, like maybe in a year I'll have more time, or maybe, in a year the kids are going to go off to college and then I'll be able to have a little bit more time. No, in a year you're going to have a year's worth of different problems. You're going to have different issues that have to deal with in a year. I don't mean a year's worth of problems. I mean, like, a year goes by, yes, you're not going to have that same problem maybe, but maybe you got 10 different new problems. And now you don't have time to start in a year. The point is, if you start today, even if you do a tiny bit every day or a few days a week, you do 5 minutes of this, 10 minutes of this, an hour's worth of this, you do that shit. And if you have the patience to say, look, I don't need this to be done in a week or a month or a year. I need it to be done in 10 years. Or if it's something you extremely love doing, you don't mind working on it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road because you love doing it anyway. Like when I started writing these ideas and, brainstorming or whatever, just coming up with chapters, ideas, topics that I want to be in these books. When I'm doing all this, it takes time, obviously. It was taking me some time to figure out, like, I started with what is the overall general message that I want to send with these books, because what is it that I'm trying to teach or tell the world? I start with that. That's my center point. Then I started branching out, well, what 3, 4, 5, 10 ideas, what things go into making this a reality? And then when I had all these different bubbles and different topics for that lead into the end goal, basically I'm just reverse engineering the idea of my book. I know what the end goal is that I'm trying to achieve, or what the idea or the thought that I'm trying to get across to people. But then I had to start backtracking and going, okay, this is the end goal. How do I get there? How does anybody get here? What are all the different variables that could lead somebody to this place or this idea? And what are the variables that can lead somebody away? What can really fuck somebody up? What can ruin this for people? And it's funny because I know what the end goal is, but I don't care how long it takes to get there, as long as I just work at it a little bit here and there. And it's such a beautiful place to be at mentally, because when time is not an issue, the stress levels just go away. They disappear because you're not worried about how long it's going to take. I'm not worried if it takes me 20 years to write these fucking books. I'm not telling you about them today because I want you to go buy them tomorrow. They're not going to be available tomorrow. The reason I'm bringing them up is because I'm trying to explain that when it comes to things like that, regardless whether it's writing a book, starting a new business, finding a new job, starting a family, thinking about, like, maybe you just had a newborn child and you're thinking about the college that they're going to go to, the school that you want them to be in. These things it's a process. It's a long-standing process. It doesn't happen overnight. And when you live with patience, when you live with the idea that, hey, this is going to take time to get here, but it doesn't matter, you can work at things the right way, the proper way, and take the proper steps. And you can feel good about what you're doing. And you don't have to feel the pressure of, fuck, I got to do this right. I got to do it now. I got to get all this done immediately, or it's going to be a failure. You don't have to worry about giving up because you got nothing but time. It's beautiful. And this is what I really need people to understand, because so many people want things immediately. And when it doesn't happen immediately, they give up. And the thing I'm trying to get people to not do is give up. That's the last thing you want to do. Focus on doing what will help you in the long run, but take your time. Don't rush the shit. If you want, good things come to those who wait. There's a reason that saying is out there. It's not bullshit. If you want good things for your life, think long term and don't worry about the time frame. And it's beautiful. It's a great place to be. The big reason why this is so important for me to tell everyone, though, is that I've wasted, there's so many years of my life that I didn't think like that. I didn't think about, the importance of starting something early. The only thing I've ever done, I'll say this, the only thing I've ever really thought about long-term wise and been very consistently, plugging away at little by little for my whole life has been saving money. I've always, since the age of 14 in a bank account, but even at home, even before then, when I was younger, I used to save little bits around the house and shit like that, but doing like chores and all that, saving a little bit of money. But when I got a bank account that once I got my real first job around 14, I started getting a steady paycheck every 2 weeks, I believe it was at the time. And I would take money out and put it into a bank account. And my dad always said that, don't worry, this little bit of money that you're putting away is not money that you want to spend. It's not money that, not anytime soon at least. It's not money that you even want to think about. It's not money that you even want to acknowledge that you have. It's emergency money that you're putting away, and you consistently save money week after week after week for years and years and years, and eventually it will amount to something great and something big and something long lasting and meaningful. And the same shit goes for the rest of your life. Like anybody who gets married, nobody gets married and says, well, this will cover me for the next year. Like the intention of getting married is to spend the rest of your life with. It's just the day you get married, that's day one. And you're planning a family. The long-term goal is to have a family when you do that. Nobody gets married and has kids because they're only thinking about today. When you do get married, when you go through the whole process of getting engaged, you get married and you're talking about having kids, and then you have kids and then they're growing up. The whole point of it is this is a long-term commitment. And so we do this with super important stuff in life, but think about when it comes to changing your life or doing something meaningful for yourself, it's real easy to give up when you don't see immediate results. But like, you don't save money for a couple weeks and then you go, oh shit, I don't have $1 million in there yet, so fuck it, I'm just not going to save money anymore. No, you understand the simple principle that you plug away, and eventually one day it's going to be worth a lot more than it was day one. And that's exactly how you should look at it when it comes to your career or changing your life or starting a business. You should look at it as, this is not something I'm doing for this week or this month or this year. This is something I'm doing for the rest of my life. So if you look at things like that, then you can take slow steps steadily. And when you don't see huge results right away, it's not going to ruin you. It's not going to make you give up. It's not going to deter you from the end goal. You got to think long term, and it allows for the patience. It allows for failures. It allows for bounce back from failures. It allows for everything. You just have to take the mindset of, this is never, if you look at it as, I'm always going to be working on something that's never a finished product, then time is not the enemy. You know what I mean? Like, you have all the time in the world. And that doesn't mean like, that doesn't mean that you should lack in effort. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you should just slow down in your effort and not care because you have all the time in the world. You should still try, but just don't be worried about the results right away. That's the biggest part about it. And man, when you can have this mindset going forward in life, when you can understand that you're working at something at your own pace, at your own time, it's meaningful to you. It makes you 10 times more happier. You'll feel so much more fulfilled in your own life and with what you're trying to accomplish when you're actually doing something that you care about, that you like, that's for you. You know, it's so much more rewarding than just going to work for somebody else to make them money, and then at the end of the day, you're just another number, just another employee. You're not very valuable to that person. They don't look at you as a meaningful person in their life. Even if you're the number one reason why that business or company is succeeding, they don't care. They're going to look at bottom line and how it's helpful to them. They don't give a fuck about, you're replaceable in their eyes if you're just an employee at their job. I mean, a lot of people, and now some great bosses will convince you that you're meaningful, and those are the good ones to work for. Even if they don't believe it, at least the fact that they're trying to make you believe that they feel that you are, you know, like if they're at least putting an effort towards you, making you feel like you're important to the company. I've always said this myself. I don't give a fuck if you believe it, but if you make me feel like I'm important, dude, I'll run through a damn wall for you. The problem is most managers and most bosses, not leaders, but bosses, what they do is they get into this habit of, if you're not helping them or if you're not making them look better, if you're not benefiting their life in some way or their job, then they don't really care to put in the effort to make you look good or to help you out. And really what a lot of managers and bosses don't understand is when you become a boss, a manager, an owner, a president, a general manager, a CEO or whatever, you don't have employees working for you. You have employees, but you work for them. You're there to make them succeed. If you don't help them to be the best that they can be, they're not going to be the best that they can be to help you and make you look good and make you money and make the company successful, make the business, make your products good, make your customers happy. They're not going to. I've watched this play out. I don't need a degree to explain this. I don't need empirical data to show you. I've watched this shit play out. I have family members that have done it. I've worked in places that do this. It's when you have a shit boss, people leave companies based on the boss, not on the product, not on the company, not on the ideas of the company, not on, if the pay and the benefits and all that shit are garbage, then people will leave, but they're usually not going to stay very long in the first place. So I'm talking purely more for if you have somebody that's been at a company for a long period of time, and they want to leave all of a sudden, it's probably due to management. It's probably due to the culture and the morale. It probably has nothing to do with the actual company and what they were doing, because otherwise they wouldn't have been there a long time in the first place. So this is why I push so heavily on doing what you like doing and on working towards even little by little, working towards changing and bettering your life, something that is going to be more meaningful for you, something that makes you happy. You know, regardless what it is that you like doing, I'm not saying you have to go start your own company or you have to be your own boss or anything like that. If you feel fully fulfilled, say that 3 times fast. If you feel fully fulfilled with the job that you're doing or working for somebody else, that's not a bad thing. Every great company has employees. Every great company has roles to fill, you know, like every person, every position, it's a role on the team. It's just like every great team, you know. A football team has a quarterback, has a running back, it has receivers, it has offensive linemen, it has all defense with different positions on defense, it has kickers, punters, all this. Like, there are roles for people to play, but in order for your team to be successful, your business, your company, your job, your work to be successful, you need to work as a team, and everybody needs to be at their best. Everyone needs to have the same goal in mind, because if everyone is selfish and just pulling in their own direction, you're going to be very fractured. You're going to be very divided. You're not going to accomplish great things as a team when everyone's all about themselves. And you're definitely not going to accomplish great things as a team if you have a bunch of shitty players and shitty coaches. And by shitty players and coaches, I mean shitty employees and shitty managers, supervisors, foremans, bosses, team leaders. Just because you put the word leader in your job title doesn't make you a good one. Doesn't even make you one, period. You can be called a leader all day, but it actually takes leading people in order to do that. And the only way to lead people, you can't be a shit boss and be a selfish person and be a leader. In order to lead, you need to be selfish or selfless towards your team. You can't be selfish. And there's way too many companies worried about me. How can I get as much money as possible? The people that are doing everything to make this company possible, I'm going to pay them the least. I'm going to do little for them. They're just lucky they have a fucking job. That's the way a lot of companies look at it. My mom worked for UPS for a long time. UPS is known to be a very good company, very popular in the parcel service, if you will, even if you won't. And when she retired from there, she literally complained to me about the exact same problems that I was dealing with at my plastics company. She looked at every single thing that I told her was wrong with my company. She said, it's not any different where I'm at. And she was in a totally different line of work. I was operating machinery, running jobs, stacking parts, making plastic, designing and shaping and molding the plastics and all this. I was just a factory worker, basically. She worked in an office. She worked in the accounts receivable department. She was answering phones and taking care of people's orders and dealing with customers. I didn't do any of that stuff at the plastics company that I'm speaking of. But all the same issues were coming up. Bosses being shitheads, only worrying about kissing the guy's ass that's in front of them, not doing things to help out certain employees or empower certain employees to be better, not putting them in a position where the culture is good or the morale is good, not putting them in a position to succeed. Basically just pointing the finger, blaming, and wondering how you can do more for them to make them look better. Taking credit, some take credit and don't give any credit to the people that are making them look good. It's not good to stand on all the bodies of all the people that helped you get where you are. One of my favorite sayings ever is be careful of the feet that you step on, because they may lead to the ass you one day have to kiss. So just be careful how you treat people and what you do to those people, because you never know when they're going to come back in the future and be very important or valuable to you. So anyway, guys, that's all the time I got today. I really got to get going. I love you guys, and I thank you so much for everything that you listening and being a part of this. And you guys help me as much as I'm trying to help you, as far as, this is a team thing. If I'm not talking to anybody at all, this is a waste of breath, basically, you know what I mean? And the fact that if I help anybody, It feels so good for myself. And I'm not doing it just so it feels good for me. I genuinely want to help people. That's why I started this. But the point is, when I do help, when somebody tells me, man, what you said here really helped me, or it made sense and it really made me think of this or something, I love that so much. I love genuinely helping somebody come to some kind of a revelation about life or about how they can better themselves or how they can gain confidence. Because listen, not everyone grows up, with a great upbringing, perfect parenting or anything like that. Not everyone has a perfect life. Most people don't. In fact, I don't know anyone that does. But I think we all need a little bit of guidance at something. We all need a little bit of help with something. And if I can help anybody get out of a depressed state or an angry state, or just feel empowered or confident or better about themselves, or at least get on the right path to having a better, happier life, dude, that's all that fucking matters to me. That's all I want to do. So I'm really grateful for the people listening, and I love you guys. That never goes unnoticed with me, I promise. And listen, if you want to get a hold of me, you can on through the Anchor site. You can leave me a voice message. I'd love to respond to that and talk to you guys and have a conversation. If you want to get a hold of me on Instagram, it's Really Rich Podcast. Twitter is Really Rich Adam. LinkedIn, please find me on LinkedIn. It's Adam Rich. The goal is still the same on LinkedIn. I'm trying to connect with literally every fucking person. If there's 7.7 billion, is that the new number? If there's 7.7 billion people, I'd like to connect with every one of them. That's the goal. But I love you guys, and I thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon, okay? See ya!